Hi everyone. So this is my manufacturers of computer processors assignment. The three manufacturers of computer processors I'll be using is Intel, AMD, and IBM. Alright, so on this next slide we have Intel, right, which means integrated electronics. Right, so a slight history on Intel. It was founded by Robert Noyce in 1968 and Gordon Moore. They began as a semiconductor chip manufacturer and eventually found success in other areas such as motherboards, memory devices, right, Ethernet components, and laser printers. Right, so on this next slide we have AMD, which means advanced micro devices, right, AMD. It was founded by Walter Jeremiah, a former executive at Fairchild Semiconductor Corporation. It released its first product in 1970 and went public in 2 years later. It began making computer chips in the mid 1970s. Alright, so we have AMD here. Alright, so on the next slide here we have, I have a comparison video, right, between Intel and AMD on the speeds and the cores, and basically on the market. Intel and AMD are rivals on the market, right? So this is just a video that shows the difference in his specification between the i9, which is from Intel, and the Ryzen from AMD.
Bringing us then to the elephant in the room, more cores. It seems Intel has finally had enough of AMD lording Ryzen's 8 cores over them, and here we have not one, but 2 Intel Core Series CPUs with 8 cores. Though with that said, they haven't yet tired of AMD lording their more aggressive pricing over them, because for a 16-thread processor, you will be paying a nearly 40% premium to get a blue case badge, making the cheaper 8-thread Core i7 possibly a much easier pill to swallow.
IBM, which means International Business Machines. IBM began as a computing, tabulating, and recording company and was founded by Herman Horowitz in the late 1800s. In 1890, they created tabulating equipment for tabulation and analysis. The company grew in the 1920s and was named IBM. So here on the last slide we have a table with the manufacturers of the Intel, the AMD, and the IBM processors, right? So first we have it names of processors. We have right, the Intel Core i9, then you have the AMD Ryzen 700, and then you have the Telum processor. Then we have the speeds. The Intel Core i9 is 6.0 gigahertz. Then we have the AMD Ryzen 7000, which is 3.6 gigahertz. Then we have the Telum, which is 6 gigahertz. So in terms of speeds, the Intel and the IBM are really fast. The AMD is really fast too, but not as fast as the Intel and the IBM usage. The Intel i9 is mainly used for gaming, but it is also used for the regular everyday tasks that a user may have. The same thing for the AMD, right? The IBM is mainly used for business transactions and banks and like the ATM. The technology that are behind the processors, the Intel is a performance hybrid, right? Then you have the AMD, which has 16 cores and 32 threads, right? Which means the workload is divided among 16 cores or 16 other processors, right? The IBM works with 8 cores or 8 processors. Customers in which the processors are aimed for, right? The Intel, the Core i9 was made mainly for gamers and those on like Twitch and gamers on YouTube, and also the everyday gamers. Then you have the AMD, which is for the same thing, gamers, YouTube gamers and the everyday gamers. The IBM is more of made for businesses like banks and other financial institutions and credit unions. Then the last field is we have the defining attribute, right? The Intel is ideal for high frame per second frames per second games that require high processing power. Then we have the AMD, which is ideal for high-end modern day gamings and regular task that has high graphics requirements. And then we have lastly the IBM, which contains artificial intelligence to handle the various workloads of each transaction from banks and other financial institutions. So there it is, my comparisons of processors from these 3 manufacturers of processors, right? Thank you for listening and have a good day.